الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وبآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين. وصل على صاحب الدعوة النبوية والصولة الحيدرية والعصمة الفاطمية والحلم الحسنية والشجاعة الحسينية والصبر السجادية وآثار الباقرية ومآثر الصادقية وعلوم الكاظمية وحجج رضوية وجود التقوية والنقاوة النقوية والهيبة العسكرية والغيبة الإلهية والقائمة بالحق. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتاب الكريم ومحكم كتاب المجيد وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بقية الله خير لكم إن كنتم مؤمنين. Husayn bin Rawh al-Nawbakhti was the third of the four representatives to have served the Imam of our time in a period known as Ghaibati Sughra, the minor occultation. The period of the direct deputyship of Husayn bin Rawh lasted for 21 years out of a period which spanned 69 years in total. Husayn bin Rawh is famous for the political shrewdness and the political sharpness, along with the diplomatic relationships that he maintained within the people. The lessons that we can learn from this individual, from the representative of the Imam, are remarkable and many in number. And those lessons can be applied within our lives within the 21st century, not just the community in general, but also within the world of politics that we have. Therefore, the title of tonight's discussion under the series that we have been discussing, Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Faraja, are we ready for him? Tonight's discussion will be titled Lessons that we can learn from the life of Husayn bin Rawh al-Nawbakhti, the third representative of Imam. And to do that, inshallah, we will discuss it on three levels. Firstly, we will discuss the lessons that we can learn from his life, from the qualities that he showed which made him the representative of the Imam. On the second level, we will go and try and understand the lessons that can be learned from the other aspects of his life, including political aspects. And finally, briefly, we will mention a few of his contributions to the religion. Before we start the topic, please recite a loud salawat. One of the most important qualities that Husayn bin Rawh al-Nawbakhti, the third special representative of the Imam, demonstrated and illustrated was his diplomacy and tactfulness, was him maintaining good relationships with all people. You see, Husayn bin Rawh was one of the wisest of people among the Shi'as and the Sunnis. He would calm the enemies, and he would please his friends, and he would try and maintain diplomatic relationship. Now, this sort of diplomatic relationship is extremely important to be maintained, especially at the time where the political situation is so sensitive. On one hand, you had the Abbasid Caliph such as Muqtadar Billah, who was very relaxed and easygoing towards the Shia. On the other hand, you had Hamid al-Abbasi, who was a terror towards the Shias at that time. So here, Husayn bin Rawh would maintain diplomatic relationships with all people. In one of the last tawqi that Sheikh At-Tusi had received through Husayn bin Rawh, the Imam here mentions, he states, وَكَانَ أَبُو الْقَاسِمِ Rahmatullah alayhi, may Allah be pleased with him, may Allah bless Husayn bin Rawh, bless Abul Qasim. And then he continues, he says, Min a'qal nas. He says he is the wisest among the people. عند المخالف والموافق, among the enemies and also with friends. Imam says that Husayn bin Rawh is the wisest of people when it comes dealing with the opposition and dealing with our people. And he ends this by saying, وَيَسْتَعْمِلُ التَّقِيَّةِ, and he practices taqiyya. When the Imam of the time writes a tawqi on you with such reference to you, this is one of the highest honors that you can have. Here the Imam is saying Husayn bin Rawh is one of the wisest of people among ourselves, among the Shi'as and among the Sunnis. He maintains good relationships with our enemies. He knows how to talk to them. He knows how to sit with them. And he maintains good relationships with our friends. As in, he knows when he should say something and he knows when he should conceal something, when he should not say something. And this attribute was extremely important within the political, taking into account the political sensitivities of the time. Now, there are many instances which narrate the political shrewdness and the diplomacy that Husayn bin Ruh enacted his life with. And there are many lessons that we can take from him. Let me narrate to you one or two. One of them is narrated by Sheikh At-Tusi in his book Al-Ghaiba. He states that there was a minister by the name of Abu Yasar. Quite a few people had gathered in his house. Of those individuals was Husayn bin Ruh, who had attended the discussion at the house of the minister. And in that discussion were 5 scholars from the Ahl Sunnah. And in that gathering, one person proposed a discussion in trying to discuss who is the most superior Muslim after the Holy Prophet. One of the person responded by saying that after the Prophet comes Abu Bakr, Umar, then Ali. However, the other person retorted and he said no. He claimed the superiority of Imam Ali alayhi salam over all other companions after the Prophet. Now, at this point, Husayn bin Rawh responded within that discussion in such a diplomatic and tactful manner that he was able to calm the Sunnis at that discussion, and he was also able to safeguard the Shi'as at that time. And he did it with such tactfulness that all of the people within that gathering became his supporters, became his admirers. Subhanallah, what a beautiful trait that Husayn bin Rawh demonstrated, one that we need to show within our own lives: diplomacy and tactfulness. Husayn bin Rawh's diplomacy was unequal to anyone else at that time. Husayn bin Rawh, the third representative. Let me narrate to you another incident that took place, again, has been narrated by Sheikh At-Tusi. On another instance, Sheikh At-Tusi narrates that one individual in the presence of Husayn bin Rawh cursed and rebuked Muawiyah. And he did la'na on Muawiyah in the presence of Husayn bin Rawh. Husayn bin Rawh turns to this individual and he says, do you know what you are doing? You doing la'na on Muawiyah, where is this going to get us? You doing la'na on Muawiyah, you doing la'na on Muawiyah, because of this, a few of our Shias are going to get killed in Baghdad. Because of this, a few of our Shias are going to get in Qum. What's the point of doing this la'na? The people would turn around and object, oh, Husayn bin Rawh, wasn't Muawiyah an enemy of Imam Ali? Of course he was an enemy of Imam Ali. Imam Ali himself fought Muawiyah in the Battle of Siffin. However, when his companion Hujr bin Adi cursed Muawiyah, sent la'na on Muawiyah, Imam Ali alayhi salam retorted and he said, I do not like my companions to be the people who perform sub. What is this that we are doing sub on Muawiyah publicly? We as Shi'as are barely surviving at the time when our Imam is physically in ghaiba. What's this la'na going to get us? If you want to discuss about Muawiyah, do it historically, do it academically. This performing sub of Muawiyah publicly is not going to get us anywhere. This is another way Husayn bin Rawh demonstrated his tactfulness in diplomacy in such instances. This was one of the first traits and qualities that made him eligible for the representative of Imam al-Mahdi. The second trait that Husayn bin Rawh demonstrated was the political influence that Husayn bin Rawh demonstrated at the time. Imagine, just a few years ago, the Abbasid caliphs were behind the Imam of our time, trying to kill wherever he was. A few years later, Husayn bin Rum got Shias to a position where the Abbasid caliphs would make Husayn bin Rum their ministers, where they would make a Shia their wazir. Let me narrate to you the political influence that Husayn bin Rum enjoyed at the time. There is a narration by Sheikh al-Sadduq. Sheikh al-Sadduq, we will discuss him later, inshallah. Now, Sheikh al-Sadduq narrates that there was a man by the name of Ali bin Ahmad Aqiqi. Ali bin Ahmad Aqiqi had some difficulty, so he went to the minister Ali bin Isa Jarrah. So he goes to the minister and he says, look, I have a few of my difficulties, please help me in alleviating my needs and alleviating my difficulties and sorrows. Ali bin Isa, the minister of Muqtada Billah al-Abbasi, the Abbasid Caliph, he turns to him and he says, look, you have many relatives in this city, and if all of your relatives were to come to me for help, and if we were to entertain all of them, then we will not be able to do so. And so this is a huge task for us. So in other words, the minister is saying to Ali bin Ahmad Aqiqi, look, if I do you a favor and help you out, I will have to help all of your relatives out, so I'm not able to help you. Ali bin Ahmad Aqiqi got annoyed and he got angry and he retorted and he said, then I am going to go to the one through whose difficulties are alleviated. So the minister says, what do you mean? Who are you going to go to? He says, I'm going to go to Allah the Almighty. And angrily and annoyed, he left the meeting of the minister. A few moments later, Ali bin Ahmad Aqiqi meets one of the assistants, one of the messengers of Husayn bin Rum. Now remember, Husayn bin Rum was not the representative, the official representative at the time. This was before he became the representative. Anyway, this individual, the assistant of Husayn bin Rum, sees Ali bin Ahmad Aqiqi. He says, Ali bin Ahmad, what's happening to you? You seem a little down. At that time, Ali bin Ahmad Aqiqi starts complaining about the regime. He says, down with the government. They're not listening to me. And he complains. At this point, the assistant says, okay, hold on. Let me come back to you. A short while later, he comes. He says, here, take 100 dinars, take a handkerchief, take hunut, kafur, and take a few pieces of shroud. The Imam of the time conveys his salams to you. And he says, whenever you are in difficulty, wipe this handkerchief on your face. This is the handkerchief that I use myself. And as for the kafur and hunut, he mentions that a while later he'll be going to Egypt and he prophesies his death. And he says, whenever you die, this kafur and kafan is for you. And he says, the Imam says, don't worry, your difficulty will be solved tonight. And then the assistant leaves. A while later, there is a knock at the door of Ali bin Ahmad Aqiqi. He asks his servant, check who it is. And the servant says, it's the servant of the cousin of the minister. And he says, okay, what is it? He says that the minister and the cousin have called you. So Ali bin Ahmad Aqiqi says, fine, let's go. So they go towards and he finds that the cousin of the minister is on the horse. He comes down, he shakes his hand, and both of them go to the minister of the house. At this time, when they get to the minister of the house, now remember what previously the minister had replied to him, and look at the response of the minister, the same minister right now. The minister says, Allah has fulfilled your wish. I apologize for my past behavior. And he gives him some official papers with his seal on it. What a turn of events. A few moments had passed. A few moments before, the same minister turns this Aqiqi away. And a few moments later, he is giving him the official papers with his seal personally. You see, what had happened is Husayn bin Rum had gone to the minister. He had said, look, O minister, Ali bin Isa, one of our Shias had come to you. Why did you turn him away? One of our people had come to ask for help. Why did you not help him? Why did you reject him? So at this point, you see, by this time, a few years had already passed from the ghaibah of the Imam. So the Abbasids and the Caliphs and the ministers at that time were more open in having the dialogue with the Shias at the time, and the Shias were able to openly go to the ministers. Anyway, Husayn bin Rum asks the minister, please help him. And the minister does so. What this incident shows is the political influence that Husayn bin Rum enjoyed at the time of the Abbasid Caliphs. And I want you to remember that a few years ago, the same Abbasid Caliphs wanted to kill the Imam, but now they are making the Shias their wazirs, and they're also listening to the Shias. This is the political influence that Husayn bin Raw enjoyed at that time. A lesson towards us that every time there is something wrong in the government, we shouldn't be going down with the government. Rather, we should engage politically with them. We should engage with them diplomatically, tactfulness, and take lessons from Husayn bin Raw like he demonstrated. This was the second important quality worth mentioning. A third quality at the time that Husayn bin Raw demonstrated was the quality of his trustworthiness. Muhammad bin Uthman bin Sa'id al-Amri was the second representative. Over 3 years before the second representative died, he started directing some of the donations and the monies that he would receive towards Husayn bin Raw so that he was able to prepare the grounds for Husayn bin Raw. Like I said in the previous majalises, at that time, there was an underground organization, there was an administration that was working towards the Hujjah of the time, and that the representatives had other representatives beneath them. And Husayn bin Raw served as a representative of the second representative. Anyway, so Muhammad bin Ali Aswadi, he narrates that every time I would receive money for waqf or donations and I would like to send it towards the Imam of my time, I would send it to Muhammad bin Uthman and he would happily accept it. However, one day when I took all this donation from the people towards the second representative, Muhammad bin Uthman, he directed me to now give it to Husayn bin Raw. So I said, very well. I went to Husayn bin Raw, I gave the donation to him and I said, oh Husayn bin Raw, give me a receipt. Husayn bin Raw said, okay, fine, here's the receipt. However, Muhammad bin Ali Aswadi narrates that when I went to the second representative, Muhammad bin Uthman, later, Muhammad bin Uthman was very annoyed with me. He said, what's the reason that you asked a receipt from Husayn bin Raw? Do you not know whatever you give to him, it is as if you are giving it to me? And Husayn bin Raw is one of the most trustworthy of individuals, and that the Imam had instructed me to do so. And by this saying, the narrator narrates that after that I never requested a receipt from Husayn bin Raw. Now, there is no issue in asking for receipts from people, not at all. Here, the representative was just trying to show the truthfulness and the trustworthiness of the third representative. Like I previously said, one of the major challenges and one of the major issues in Ghaibat al-Sughra were financial irregularities. A lot of people, like I mentioned before, Ali bin Hasaka, Ali bin Bilal al-Bilali, even as he is known as, they would deviate from the path only because of their financial irregularities, and they would take the money of khums from here and do fraudulent activities with them. Regardless, this was one of the third traits of Husayn bin Raw, which makes him a representative. Again, a worthy trait that we should try and implement within our life. Another trait that I would like to discuss is his sincerity in his role. But most importantly, his sincerity in not disclosing the whereabouts of the Imam. You see, Husayn bin Raw has been accorded as one of the most wisest of individuals by the Imam, of course, but he was also very knowledgeable at his own right, and he would sit with the kings and the rulers of that time, and he would also engage in debates. Someone comes to Abd Sahal Nawbakhti and he says that why is it that Husayn bin Raw is the representative of the Imam? Why aren't you the representative of the Imam? So Abd Sahal responds to him and he says the Imam knows who's to make his representatives and who not to make his representatives. He says, you know, I debate with a lot of people, and if I knew the whereabouts of my Imam, and if I was losing the debate, in order to prove my time, I would show the whereabouts of the Imam to the public. However, Husayn bin Raw is different to that. Husayn bin Raw, even if the Imam was sitting or was behind him, Husayn bin Raw would be scissored to pieces, but he would still not disclose the whereabouts of the Imam. You see, here what we are trying to say is all of the four representatives performed this trait very diligently. What do I mean? You see, when someone is trying to conceal something, it is hard enough. But when someone is trying to conceal something where other people know that he is trying to conceal something, now that's even harder. And it is easy to conceal for a day, or it's easy to divert their attention for a day or 2 days. But to do that for a whole year, or years, or even decades throughout the whole of Ghaibat Sughra, where the external environment knows that you know where the Imam is, and you have all of the external pressures and the external influence that people are requesting, please tell me where the Imam is, with all sorts of intentions, be it genuine intentions or be it otherwise. To conceal the place of the whereabouts of the Imam truly takes a lot of sincerity, and therefore the Imam knew exactly whom to place their trusts with. Again, another worthy trait that we should try and be more amanatdar and try to have that quality of being Ameen. These were some of the qualities that I wanted to bring in front of you of Husayn bin Raw, and these were diplomatic relationship with all of the people, political sharpness and influence, trustworthiness and sincerity. Now let us move this discussion to another aspect of his life. Let us, for example, touch his political aspect. Like I said previously, Husayn bin Raw had enjoyed a high status within the politicians at that time and even the kings at that time. He was in fact one of the ministers that would sit within the courts of Muqtadar al-Abbasi, the caliph of that time. And I would like you to imagine the state of Husayn bin Raw at that time, on how far he had brought the Shi'as of that time to where he was. Now, because of all this influence, people started becoming jealous and envious of him. What do I mean? When Muqtadar Billah al-Abbasi passed away, traditions differ, but they say Hamid al-Abbasi became the caliph. Or according to other tradition, Hamid al-Abbasi was a wazir or a minister of the time, and he was a terror towards the Shi'as. Anyway, when Hamid al-Abbasi came into power, he realized, he saw the power of Husayn bin Raw. Husayn bin Raw, the Shi'as love him, the non-Shi'as love him. Everyone loves him. He has a lot of power. He's getting a lot of money from the people for the khums. Hamid al-Abbasi decides to put Husayn bin Raw into prison. At the time where the Imam is already in Ghaiba, the only source of communication to the Imam, the representative of the Imam, is now also into prison for 5 long years. Now I want you to imagine, we've already discussed the period of Hira, the period of utter confusion on what was going on in the minds of the people when they first were introduced this notion of Ghaibat. And now I want you to imagine that Husayn bin Raw al-Nawbakhti is in prison for 5 years. Not only that, when Husayn bin Raw was taken into imprisonment, some Shi'as who were envious of the position that Husayn bin Raw enjoyed in front of the Imam and the high status that he had, became envious of him and turned against him. One of the individuals you will not believe, and the people could not believe, turned against him, was an individual by the name of Shalmaghani. Shalmaghani was an individual that was in the gathering in which the second representative appointed the third representative. He was an individual that believed in the Imam. He was an individual that had seen the Hujjah with his own eyes. He was a scholar. He had written a lot of books on the Ahlul Bayt. His worship was unequal. He was excellent in his salah, in his fast, in his hajj. However, what happened is when Husayn bin Raw was declared the third representative, Shalmaghani always wanted that position. It was a coveted position and he always wanted that position. And when Husayn bin Raw got that position and Shalmaghani didn't, his envy and jealousy began to increase. And what happened is when Husayn bin Raw is in prison for 5 long years, Shalmaghani comes forward and he declares and he puts in some fitna and futur and confusions within the minds of the people. On the first level, he says, so Shalmaghani was who? He believed in the Mahdi. He had seen the Hujjah with his own eyes. He would sit in the gatherings of the representatives. But Shalmaghani comes forward and he says, this Mahdi is Shaitan. Shalmaghani says the Mahdi is Shaitan. Why? The title of the Mahdi is Al-Qa'im. Al-Qa'im means the one who rises. The Shi'as refer this title to the concept of the Mahdi, but in reality, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam, Shaitan didn't perform sajda on Adam. He stayed rising. So this Mahdi is now Shaitan. On the second level, he would say that the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala walking on earth. They are God on earth, and now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has come into my heart and He is within me. For those of you who pledge their allegiance to me, heaven awaits you. And for those of you that pledge your allegiance to the Mahdi or Husayn bin Ruh, hell awaits you. On the third level, he would say that Ali bin Abi Talib is a god. In fact, he would say that Ali bin Abi Talib is God. Ali had given the religion to the Holy Prophet. However, the Prophet betrayed Ali. The Prophet betrayed God. He didn't do his job properly. So then Ali, as in God, allowed the Prophet to continue with his religion for 350 years. And now I have been sent to take over this religion and bring reform to the religion of Ali. Now just imagine if you are a normal, ordinary Shia at that time. Your Imam has just gone into Ghaiba only a few decades ago. You do not know what to do. You do not know who to turn to. Slowly, you are now getting used to the concept of representatives and wukala and how to send letters towards the Imam. But suddenly that main representative is also hidden from the public eye and he has also gone into prison. And now a scholar, someone who was meant to be a trustworthy individual, a man of great reputation, is now bringing in these confusions within the religion. What do you as an ordinary individual do at that time? This time was extremely difficult, and we need to try. This time is going to come again. It's going to be difficult for us again towards the reappearance of the Imam, and we need to try and increase the ma'rifah that we have in him. However, one of the companions of Husayn bin Ruh bin Humam comes to Husayn bin Ruh in his prison and he says, you know what's happened? He says, no, what's happened? He narrates the story of Shalmaghani and he says, this is what's happened. Husayn bin Ruh says, Shalmaghani, but he was sitting with us. He has seen the Hujjah with his own eyes. He is doing all of this. Bin Humam says, yes, this is Shalmaghani. This is what's happening in the outside world. Husayn bin Ruh says, let's wait for a tawqi, instruction from the Imam. The tawqi comes from the Imam and he says, Shalmaghani, because he has ascribed all of these things to the Imams, la'na on him, la'na on those people that follow Shalmaghani, and la'na on those people that stay quiet with what they say. This narration, this statement was very important for the Imam of the time. This statement was very important for the Imam of the time to make that. Why? Shalmaghani was getting a lot of influence. The tribes of, for example, Bani Furat were gathering him, supporting him, not just joining him, but helping him and supporting him. Here, the Imam is saying, la'ana on the people that stay silent even when the confusions such as ghulu or nusayri creep into the religion. And we need to try and stay away from these tendencies of nusayri or ghulu or calling the Imams of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as God walking on this earth. Now, there are reasons why Husayn bin Ruh was placed into prison in the first instance. Traditions and the books mention two reasons. I will quickly go over them. The first reason was because of him having links with Qaramita. I've already mentioned who Qaramita were in the previous discussion and the movement of the Ismailis at the time, but he was accused of having links with Abu Tahir Qaramita, who had laid a siege on Baghdad and also attacked the Hajis of the time, whose relatives were also the relatives of Abbasid Caliph. The other accusation on Husayn bin Ruh, because he was placed in prison, was because of the money that he was gaining from people. So he has an accusation that he's gaining money from the people, and when the government is asking for the money, he refused to give this. So, and because of the power that he had, he was sent into prison. Now this is Husayn bin Ruh. When Husayn bin Ruh is finally released from the prison, he comes out, consolidates the faith of the Shia at the time, and continues with his work. Now there are a few contributions from Husayn bin Ruh which I will briefly mention. One of the contribution is the ariza that we write to the 12th Imam on every 15 Sha'ban or every other night. Whenever we do, we address it to Husayn bin Ruh an-Nawbakhti, the third representative of the Imam. Another contribution of Husayn bin Ruh is, for example, a story which we may already know. When Ali al-Qummi al-Babawayh comes to Husayn bin Ruh asking to please pray for the Imam to grant me some children, the Imam, in a lengthy discussion, I will present a brief summary to you. The Imam says you will get 3 sons, Muhammad, Hassan, and Husayn. Muhammad and Husayn will be the scholars of the time, and one of those sons was a son by the name of Sheikh as-Sadduq. Sheikh as-Sadduq has come from the prayers of the Imam of the time, and he has authored many books, including Man La Yahdurul Faqih, one of the 4 authentic books of the Shia Islam, but also Kamaluddin wa Tamamun Ni'mah, a book in which he has defended the concept of the Imam like anyone else. There's a lot of books on the Imam. There's the Ghaiba of Tusi, and there's many other books like that. But the book of Sheikh al-Sadduq is arguably one of the best books by a scholar. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Before Husayn bin Ruh passes away, he receives a tawqi' from the Imam instructing him that the next representative will be an individual by the name of Ali bin Muhammad as-Samari. Insha'Allah, life permitting, we will discuss the lessons that we can learn from the 4th and the final direct representative of the Imam of the time in the period of the Ghaibat al-Sughra, Insha'Allah, next Thursday. Before we go into Masai, please recite aloud salawat. अज़ादारान इमाम मज़लूम करबला और सामीईन मोहतरम, करबला में आशूर का दिन नमूदार होता है। एक के बाद एक मौला हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम के असहाब इजाज़त लेते हैं, तलब करते हैं और जंग के मैदान में जाते हैं अपनी जान मौला के लिए कुर्बान करने के लिए। उनमें से एक सहाबी का नाम हबीब इब्न अल-मज़ाहिर था। अज़ादारो, हबीब इब्न अल-मज़ाहिर ज़ईफ़ थे। एक मर्तबा मौला हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम के खेमे में पहुंचते हैं, बहुत ही अदब व आदाब से इजाज़त तलब करते हैं, कहते हैं मौला, जहाँ सबको इजाज़त मिली है वहाँ हमें भी इजाज़त दीजिए। बस एक मर्तबा हुसैन ने हबीब इब्न मज़ाहिर को इजाज़त दी। एक मर्तबा हबीब जाते हैं जंग के मैदान में। मक्तल में लिखा है कि हबीब ने खूब जंग लड़ी, लेकिन एक मर्तबा हबीब घोड़े पर डगमगाने लगे। एक मर्तबा आवाज दी, अस्सलामु अलैका या अबा अब्दुल्लाह अदरिकनी, या अबा अब्दुल्लाह मेरा आखिरी सलाम कबूल कीजिए, आइए मेरी मदद को आइए। बस रावी कहता है हुसैन हबीब के लाशे पर पहुंचते हैं, हबीब तुमने वफा की। बस हबीब की रूह जन्नत परवाज हो गई। अज़ादारो, मसाइब के 2 जुमले और सुन लीजिए। जब ये लुटा हुआ काफिला 11 मुहर्रम को क्या हुआ कि जालिमीनों ने सारे सरों को नौकहाये नेज़ों के ऊपर बुलंद कर दिया। हुसैन का सर नौकहाये नेज़ा के ऊपर, अली अकबर का सर नौके नेज़ा के ऊपर, ओनो मोहम्मद का सर नौके नेज़ा के ऊपर। हाँ अज़ादारो, शीश माहे अली असगर का सर भी नौके नेज़ा के ऊपर। उन सरों के दरमियान हबीब इब्न मज़ाहिर का सर भी था। अभी ये लुटा हुआ काफिला करबला से रवाना होता है, कूफे के अंदर दाखिल होता है। याद रहे, अभी कूफे वालों को पता नहीं था कि करबला में हुसैन मारे गए, करबला में अब्बास शहीद हुए, करबला में अकबर और हबीब और ज़ुहैर इब्न अल-क़ैम मारे गए। एक मर्तबा जब ये लुटा हुआ काफिला कूफे के अंदर पहुंचता है ना, तो थोड़े बच्चे खेल रहे थे। उन बच्चों में से एक बच्चा हबीब इब्न मज़ाहिर का था। जैसे ही उस बच्चे की निगाह हबीब इब्न मज़ाहिर के सर पर पहुंचती है, वो कहता है सारे बच्चों को, दोस्तों देखो इन्होंने मेरे बाबा का क्या हाल कर दिया। बस वो बच्चा आता है, उस शकी के ऊपर ऐसा वार करता है कि वो वासिले जहन्नम हो जाता है, और हबीब इब्न मज़ाहिर का सर लेता है और कयामत खेज जुमला कहता है बाबा जिसका वारिस जिंदा होता है ना, उसके सर को नोके नेजा के ऊपर बुलंद नहीं किया जाता। बस अज़ादारों, एक मर्तबा जंजीरों की झंकार की आवाज आने लगी। हसरत बरी निगाहों से आबिदे बीमार बाबा के सर के ऊपर नजर रखते हैं, कहते हैं बाबा मजबूर हूं मैं, हाथों में हथकरिया, पाँव में भेरिया और गले में खारदार तोप है। अला लअनतुल्लाहि अलल कौमिज़ ज़ालिमीन। इन्ना लिल्लाहि व इन्ना इलैहि राजिऊन।